So, how do you really get to know a complex machine? It's not just about looking at it, right? You've got to know its limits, its language, its secrets. And for an airplane, all of that is in one place, the rulebook. So today, we're going to crack it open.
I mean, think about it. This is not the instruction booklet for your new toaster. It's an aircraft flight manual, or AFM. And it might just be the most critical owner's manual ever written. Because, following the rules in here isn't about convenience. It's about safety, physics, and this incredible, delicate dance of flight. So let's see what it has to teach us.
All right, so the machine we're looking at today is this absolute beauty, the Tecnam P2008 JC. It's a slick, modern light aircraft, and our mission? It's pretty straightforward. We're going to figure out how it works, what it can do, and how a pilot operates it safely, all just by digging into the pages of its official manual.
Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the anatomy of the aircraft, then move to its heart, the engine. After that, we'll get into the pilot's rulebook, the crucial numbers for flying, and we'll wrap up with what to do when things go wrong. A full tour straight from the source. First up, the anatomy. Before we can even think about how this thing flies, we need to know what it is. What are the fundamental pieces that come together to make an airplane?
So the manual breaks the whole airframe down into 4 main chunks. You've got the wings, obviously for lift, the fuselage, which is basically the body of the plane, the landing gear for getting up and getting back down, and then the empennage, which is just a fancy word for the tail assembly that keeps the whole thing flying straight. Now, the wings, they are way more than just a couple of static planks. They're actually hollow, that's where the fuel tanks are, and they're packed with moving parts. You've got these slotted flaps that extend out to give you extra lift for takeoff and landing, and then there are these freeze ailerons. It's a really clever design that basically stops the plane from skidding sideways when you turn. Every single bit is there for precise, stable control. Okay, check this out. This quote is pulled straight from the manual, and it tells you something really important. This plane is not some old-school tin can. The fuselage, the body, is mainly made of carbon fiber composites. What does that mean? It's crazy strong, but also super lightweight, and that combination is absolutely key for performance and efficiency. All right, let's talk about the tail. On a lot of older planes, you have a small flap on the tail that moves to point the nose up or down, but the P2008 JC is different. It's got something called a stabilator. The entire horizontal part of the tail moves as one piece. This gives the pilot way more authority, way more responsive control. It's a perfect example of smart, modern aerodynamic design. Okay, so we've covered the airframe. Now let's get to the heart of the machine. We're talking about the engine, the propeller, and the fuel systems that bring this whole thing to life. Up front, we've got a Rotex 912 S2 engine. It's a 4-cylinder powerhouse, but it's a smart one. Check out the cooling system. It's a hybrid. It uses liquid to cool the really hot parts, the cylinder heads, and then just uses airflow to cool the rest. It can give you almost 100 horsepower when you really need it, like on takeoff, and then it cruises along super efficiently at about 92 horsepower. And this is where things get really cool. You've got this super modern liquid-cooled engine, and what's spinning on the front of it? A propeller made of laminated hardwood. It's old-school craftsmanship, but it's protected by a modern fiberglass cover. It's this awesome mix of brand new tech and classic proven design. That's what's so neat about light aviation. So how do you feed this engine? Well, there are 2 fuel tanks in the wings, 62 liters each. But here's the kicker, something you probably wouldn't expect. Yeah, it can run on regular aviation fuel, but it's also certified to use MoGas. We're talking about the super unleaded gas you can get at a regular gas station. That is a huge deal for pilots. It makes flying way more affordable and accessible. And of course, for safety, there's a backup electric fuel pump, just in case. Okay, we've got the hardware down. Now it's time to learn the software. This is the language the manual uses to talk about risk. And it's not just a bunch of words. It's a strict hierarchy of safety that every pilot needs to know cold. First up, and the most serious, is a warning. When you see this word, everything else stops. You pay attention, because it means that if you don't do what it says, things are about to get bad, and fast. There's no gray area here. It means immediate danger. Okay, one level down from that, you have a caution. This isn't a we're all in trouble right now situation. It's more of a serious heads up. If you ignore a caution, you might get away with it for now, but it could cause damage or a real problem later on. It's basically saying, hey, fix this before it becomes a warning. And last, you've got a note.
This has nothing to do with immediate danger. It's just the manual's way of tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, just so you know. It might point out something unusual or just give a helpful tip. So, warning, caution, note. That's the language of safety in the cockpit. All right, let's move on to flying by the numbers, because safe flying isn't about what feels right. It's about hitting precise numbers. The manual lays out these critical limits: speeds, altitudes, forces. And let me be clear, these are not suggestions. They are the absolute hard and fast rules for the aircraft. Pilots live and breathe by something called V-speeds. These are critical speeds for different phases of flight. You've got VR, rotation speed, that's 50 knots, the speed you lift off. VX, at 63 knots, gives you the steepest climb to get over trees or obstacles. VA is your maneuvering speed at 98 knots. It's the fastest you can be and still make full, abrupt control movements safely. And then there's the big one, VNE, the never exceed speed. At 143 knots, that is the absolute red line. Go faster and you risk breaking the plane. These are not targets, they're boundaries. And here's another one of those hard limits. 13,000 feet. That is the maximum operating altitude. The plane is simply not designed to go any higher. The engine won't perform, the wings won't perform. It's a simple, non-negotiable ceiling. That's the top of the P2008's world. Now let's talk about G-force, basically how much stress the airframe can take. With the flaps up, this plane can handle plus 3.8 Gs, so almost 4 times the force of gravity. But look what happens when you put the flaps down. That limit gets slashed in half, down to just 1.9 Gs. These numbers are the literal breaking point of the airplane's structure. A pilot has to stay inside that box, always. Okay, on to the section every pilot memorizes but prays they'll never have to use: what to do when things go wrong. Because the manual isn't just about flying on a good day, it's a clear, calm script for the bad ones. Your first heads up is the alert system, and it speaks a very simple language. Red means emergency, right now. Amber means, hey, you need to take a look at this, but it's not a catastrophe. And green just means a system is on and working. It's instant, clear communication. And when one of those lights comes on, a pilot never, ever guesses what to do. They follow a checklist. Let's take an electrical fire on the ground. The steps are methodical and they're burned into memory. Generator off. Throttle to idle. Ignition off. Fuel off. Master switch off. You can see the logic, right? You're cutting off everything that feeds a fire, electricity and fuel, and then you get out. It's a sequence that saves lives, and it's practiced over and over until it's second nature. So, you see, a plane is so much more than just a pile of carbon fiber and metal. It's a system, and what really makes it fly safely is the knowledge inside this book, brought to life by the pilot at the controls. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other complex machines out there depend this much on their user manual for safe and successful operation?